Tyler Megill gets lit up again in Queens yesterday, allowing 6 runs, 3 of them earned to the Tampa Bay Rays in what is another brutal outing for the right-hander. The folks over at SNY discuss his future and the potential future of the New York Mets rotation. We'll break that down next on MetCast. What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to another episode of MetCast. I am Rain. If you're enjoying this content, all I ask you to do is like and subscribe if it's your first time here. Leave a comment below if you feel you have a disagreement in regard to what I have to say during this segment. And yes, the start off is Tyler Megill. 3 2/3 of an inning yesterday, 3 earned runs, but allowed 6. Let's be honest. The only reason why there was not more earned runs is his personal error. He looked bad. His breaking balls are getting smacked all over the place. They're definitely not as sharp as they were earlier in this season, which he seems to do pretty much every year. If you'll remember, last year he comes up, he's throwing 97, 98, blowing guys away, having that downward tilt to his breaking balls. And the same to start out with this season. But he's been brutal as of late. I could see a move to the bullpen coming, or maybe even possibly being sent down to the minors, as you already have Paul Blackburn, and you have 2 pitchers making their way back in Sean Manaea and Frankie Montas, who has 1 start left before returning to the major leagues. But the folks over at SNY break down their thoughts in regard to Tyler Megill. I'm going to react to that next.
For more on the Mets, we are welcomed by John Alba and Anthony McCarron. Guys, the recent struggles for Tyler Megill continue. Anthony only gave up 3 earned runs out of the 6, but a lot of mistakes in that game. What do you think his future is in this Mets rotation right now?
Well, to me, Nikki, he's the most vulnerable guy in the rotation when the Mets get their guys back. When Montas is back, when Sean Manaea is back, I think that his Megill's spot is in peril there. Look, I honestly, guys, I think that he may be profile well as a reliever. I mean, he's got some electric stuff there, and maybe if they pared down his repertoire a little bit, his curveball has been pretty good. Maybe if he developed that a little bit more and threw it more often, that could be a big pitch for him as a reliever too. He gets incredible extension off the mound, which to me leads me to believe that he would be an intimidating at bat in a big time situation late in the game. I don't know if the Mets will look that way because starting pitching is so precious nowadays, even when you do have depth like they do. But I think he's the most tenuous hold.
And that's going to be the interesting question for David Stearns. Yes, the Mets have depth, but is there depth, elite depth? Obviously not. Frankie Montas has been getting absolutely destroyed in his rehab outings down in AAA. And I don't expect much different when he comes up to the major leagues. They say he only has 1 start left down with the rehab assignment before he's going to be coming up. He's been consistently going an inning and a third, allowing 8 runs. I mean, it's not like he's battling at all. He's getting lit up, can't get his breaking ball stuff over. I wouldn't be surprised if the New York Mets potentially hold him down there for an extra start or 2. And yes, Sean Manaea is making his way back, but let's look at the top of this rotation. Depending on how long Senga's injury is, maybe the New York Mets could go out there, try to get a front end guy. Dare I say Sandy Alcantara, who has not pitched well this season, a little bit better as of late, but not been well. But he's got 2 years left on that deal. Still throws 98, former Cy Young Award winner. Maybe if you get him in this lab, it could change him around. Look at guys like Luis Castillo, who the Mets just traded for prior to last night's game. 8 innings pitched in the New York Mets uniform. The lefty coming out of the pen, 0 earned runs when he had well over a 5 ERA with his former team. So maybe that's a player that the Mets could be looking at, or maybe another starter who throws hard, because let's not mince words or anything. The New York Mets are going to have to get elite pitching performances once they're in the playoffs, because you're going to be facing guys, the Otanis, the Yamamotos, the Sasakis, the Zach Wheelers, those types of pitchers in the postseason. And the New York Mets are going to have to battle up to them. And if the Braves make their way back, go look at what Spencer Strider's doing with the Atlanta Braves. He was absolutely lights out yesterday, and he seems to be back to the former player that he was prior to his injury. The New York Mets, outside of Senga, lack those electric type arms at the top of their rotation. Maybe, just maybe, this is the deadline where David Stearns could pull the trigger. Think about how much high-end talent they have in the farm system. There's simply no room. You have Mauricio up here, you have Acuna up here, you have Vientos up here, all who were prospects either this year or last year. And then when you're looking at it, you have the Jet Williams, who's got a well over 900 OPS in AA. You have Drew Gilbert down in AAA. You have guys out the wazoo pushing at the wall. You have Carson Bench, who's 22 years old, lighting it up. He's going to get promoted soon, and he could maybe make the major league roster probably towards the end of next year or in early 2027. So they have a lot of prospects at the higher tiers of their farm systems. Maybe it's time David Stearns identifies who he wants to stick with and who he's willing to part with, because you got to be very careful. We can't afford as an organization to have another Pete Crow Armstrong type of trade where you're giving 3 or 4 months to Javier Baez and giving up a guy who right now is in the MVP conversation with the Cubs at such a young age. Imagine having him on this team, what it would be. The impact in the outfield, it would change this entire lineup, but it is what it is. But that's why you bring in an executive like David Stearns to make those decisions. He's been there, he's done that in Milwaukee, and you trust him with the utmost confidence that he's going to identify which players are going to fit and which ones you need to say goodbye to.
On the
Yeah,
rotation
you
side.
nailed it, because we've seen historically in baseball, especially teams that do make deep postseason runs, sometimes guys who start the season in the rotation end up being role players in the bullpen. Phil Hughes did that with the Yankees back in 09 when they won the World Series. And if the depth becomes problematic for the Mets, he's going to still have his spot. And let's be real, Anthony, with these injuries here, there's a chance that could end up being the case. A 5.57 ERA over his last 7 starts is obviously not where you're
5.57 ERA. That is atrocious. And it doesn't seem to be happening right away. So maybe, just maybe, he could throw a little bit harder, throw 90. Maybe he touches 100 out of the pen like his brother, Trevor. Hard throwing, big guys. Remember, you're not airing it all out in the first and second innings like you would as a reliever.
He's falling behind in counts early. But I do want to say, too, potentially a little bit of an outlier in that the Rays are one of the hottest teams in baseball right now. They are a tough lineup to face at this current juncture in time. I'm not freaking out too much, Anthony, because I still think you're going to see him in the starting rotation as the Mets try to work their way around some of these injuries.
Yeah, you spoke about the injuries. Speaking of Mets starter, hopefully coming back soon, Sean Manaea makes his 3rd rehab start Sunday in Brooklyn. So hopefully back sooner rather than later. John, how would you approach his return, and how important is it that he's back in this rotation soon?
Yeah, training wheels to start. And I
totally agree. The last thing I'm doing is rushing Sean Manaea back.
I understand that there's going to be a lot of Mets fans that want to see Sean Manaea out there throwing 6 2/3, 7 innings out of the gate. But, you know, this is a tricky injury, as you know, Anthony, historically for pretty much any baseball player to come back from in the middle of a season. And the Mets have put themselves in a situation where they're firmly in a strong playoff position right now. There's still plenty of season.
I wouldn't say that. There's way too much time left to say we've strongly put ourselves in a playoffs position. The Braves are going to start winning. In my heart of hearts, I feel that. And we have a tremendous series coming up against them starting this week. Starting Tuesday. The season starts Tuesday. Philly's going to continue to get better. And let's not forget, they have farm systems as well. They're probably going to make moves at the deadline. And will it be enough to surpass the Mets? Only time will tell. But Kodai Senga being out a long time is going to impact this rotation. Canning, can he get it back together? Find that early season magic? Megill probably shouldn't be in this starting rotation. One thing that was looking amazing to start the year, and still is the Mets starting rotation. But we're finally starting to see some cracks in the foundation. And whether or not Jeremy Hefner in that pitching lab is able to glue it together will remain to be seen.
He's in the play, but I don't think you're rushing this in any way. Work him slowly back. Let him go 4 2/3, 5 innings his first time out, as long as everything's going okay, and then start putting heavier expectations on him.
Yeah, John, the whole reason the Mets stockpiled starters was for the inevitable injury, because pitchers break all the time, and they've had their share of these kind of problems so far. There's no reason to do anything but slow play Sean Manaea's return to the rotation when it comes, and it may take a couple of weeks for us to get there, but there's no urgency right now. They are wildly talented and very good so far. They've got enough depth to get through June and July, those kind of starts. They need Sean Manaea in October. So they need to make sure, they need to do everything possible for him to be healthy. Then, now is great. October would be even better. So slow play it as much as possible. You nailed it.
And I totally agree with that last point. You have to slow walk Manaea back, and even Montas. Let's be real. The New York Mets also have another prospect that's been lighting it up in AAA in Nolan McLean. No one could say he hasn't been great. 2.08 ERA, 5-4 over 12 games, 65 innings pitched, 65 strikeouts with a 1.17 whip. Don't forget about that 70 grade slider. John Harper was on this show. I'll link it after this show ends. But he said he might be a piece that the New York Mets consider bringing in and throwing him in the bullpen. David Stearns has done that in the past, one in Milwaukee. You bring him in, a guy that throws 96, 97 while he's in the pen with a crazy sweeper, could be very highly effective down the stretch for a postseason run. But that's all I got for you guys today. If you agree with me or disagree with me, let me know down in the comments. Be sure to give this video a thumbs up and subscribe if it's your first time here. I appreciate you watching. We'll be sure to keep you up to date with the latest on all regard to the New York Mets. And don't forget, during the week for the night games, typically Dan Bartels of the New York Post and myself have a live post game that we run right here on YouTube. So if you want to check that out, join the conversation. Be sure to subscribe so you're not just a passive observer. You could be an active participant in our live show with our guests. But that's all for me. As always, I am Ray. Thanks for joining me. Let's go Mets. Peace.